Next speaker, Sri P. Wilson.
Thank you, Deputy Chairman, sir. Sir, this bill seeks to amend Section 17B of the High Court Judges' Salaries and Conditions of Service Act 1954 and Section 16B of the Supreme Court Judges' Salaries and Conditions of Service Act 1958 by introducing an explanation to Section 17B and Section 16B of the above acts. The stated objective is to bring clarity on when Supreme Court and High Court judges are entitled to additional quantum of pension. Sir, the Guwahati High Court in a judgment has said pension should be calculated from the first day of the beginning of the 80th year of the retired judge, that is after completing 79 years. While the present bill clarifies the revision is reckoned from the first day of the month in which the pensioner or a family pensioner completes the age of 80 years. This is a clarification the bill seeks to make. Though the bill effectively seeks to remove the basis of the judgment, however, the bill gives the correct interpretation of the statutory provision that a pensioner would be entitled to additional pension only when the pensioner completes the age of 80 years and not otherwise. And therefore, sir, I support this bill. Sir, since we are discussing about the conditions of services of judges, I, being a part of the judicial system as a senior advocate, feel it is appropriate to place certain facts for consideration by this august House and the Honorable Law Minister, and thus seek indulgence of you to do so. Sir, there is no doubt that we must offer good monetary compensation to our judges in High Court and Supreme Court by way of salary. The hard work put in by them during the years in the bench is extraordinary. People outside the system sometimes do not see the strain, both physical and mental, on the judges of this country. They sacrifice everything, professionally, personally, to uphold the Constitution and the laws. Sir, I think this is high time we comprehensively revise the salaries of the judges of both High Court and Supreme Court. A good financial package is vital to attract the top talent from the bar to take up the judgeship. Presently, the monthly salary of a judge of the Supreme Court is less than a single-day fee of a leading senior advocate appearing before the Supreme Court. This has to change, sir. Such sacrifices, they are doing it. Yes. Sir, there is another issue, sir, with regard to the service conditions. That is to increase the age of retirement of the High Court judges from 62 to 65 and that of Supreme Court judges from 65 to 70 years. Sir, there are three reasons for asking for this increase in ages. One is the large number of pending cases before the High Court and Supreme Court. As per the recent statistics, there are about 57 lakhs of cases pending before various High Courts and 75,000 cases pending before the Supreme Court. The other reason is that, the person who attains the age of 62 and 65 are well-experienced judges who would be well-suited to tackle the pendency. Their invaluable experience gained over years at the bench cannot be substituted by fresh faces. With improvement in technology and medicine, life expectancy has increased and people are more productive now in their 60 years than before they even give birth to a child. The third reason is that by retiring judges at the age of 62 and 65 years, we are effectively cutting off their main source of income. Of course, some judges go to the post-retirement jobs in tribunals and others become arbitrators or even practice before the Supreme Court. But to a large section of judges, their careers ends at 62 years. That leaves them dependent on their pensions. And if we are honest, it is not a lot of money to sustain themselves and their families. If we look to other countries, the USA has a lifetime tenure for judges of its Supreme Court and federal courts. In UK, the age of retirement is 70 years, and now they are planning to increase to 75 years. Sir, the vacancies across the High Courts is alarming. At present, there are about 402 vacancies in High Courts out of a total 1,098 sanctioned posts. Recently, Honorable Law Minister has stated that the delay is due to procedural reasons like IB verification, etc. But even such legitimate processes cannot take months together. All constitutional authorities should act within a reasonable time, including the Union government, I meant even the Supreme Court Collegium. India has one of the lowest judge-to-population ratio at approximately 21 judges per million, whereas in developed countries like UK, the ratio is 51 and the US has 107. Such a grave situation has a bearing on the justice delivery system and litigants ultimately a sufferer. Sir, certain disturbing trends are noticed in the composition of judges of the Supreme Court and High Court. For past few years, we have been witnessing declining representation from all sections of the society in the higher judiciary. There is a diversity deficit in our courts, and they are not indicative of the wonderfully diverse and pluralistic society of India. Sir, appointments as judges of the Supreme Court and High Court should be made considering representation from all sections of society, including scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, other backward classes, minorities, and women. I am asking to keep representation in mind while selecting the candidates. Sir, as per the report of the National Commission for Scheduled Caste of 2016, in the year 2011, out of 850 judges in high courts, there were only 24 judges belonging to scheduled caste and scheduled tribe communities. 14 out of these high courts did not have a single judge belonging to scheduled caste and scheduled tribes. Out of 246 Supreme Court judges retired and sitting, there have been only 8 women judges, and recently 3 women judges have been appointed. And out of total of 1,113 judges across various high courts and Supreme Court in the year 2011, there were only 80 women judges, amounting to just 7.9% of the total strength of total strength. Sir, 5 high courts has no women judges at all. This paints a stark picture and is imperative to address this gender gap permanently. Not even a single judge from the scheduled tribe has been appointed as a judge of Supreme Court till date. Where is equality in this nation, sir? Sir, judicial diversity is fundamental to the quality of judging. The statistics shows that many weaker sections are poorly represented in the higher judiciary. This may mean their rights are not being properly safeguarded. People of this country are afraid that a very narrow homogeneous group of judges belonging to certain social classes are not necessarily going to reflect the views and values of the society as a whole, particularly on the issues involving diverse culture and generational matters, because they would require more perspective as the judges would interpret and enforce law based on their own background. Sir, significant over-representation of certain sections as judges calls into the question the objectivity of the current system and its inability to recruit from the different social groups and ensure social justice and social diversity. There is much to gain from having a judiciary that reflects the society in all diversity. 2 minutes, Chairman, sir, please.
1 more minute.
The lack of inclusivity in the judiciary would widen the trust deficit over the higher judiciary, and there is always a likelihood of affinity bias. I therefore appeal this August House to the Law Minister to bring in a suitable measures by way of constitutional amendment to ensure social justice and diversity and representation of all classes in the appointment of judges of the High Court and Supreme Court. At this juncture, I thank the Honorable Law Minister and Chief Justice of India and Collegium of Judges. At least this time, for 9 judges, you have upheld the social justice by appointing 3 judges from women, 1 from the OBC community, and 1 from the scheduled caste community. Sir, there should be adequate representation for all states in the Supreme Court. It is just like a federalism of a judicial branch. Sir, the other issue is establishment of regional benches of Supreme Court. Sir, the framers of a constitution considered the right to access to justice to be a sacrosanct, that they enacted section Article 32. A direct access to the highest court is now the highest court of the land to enforce fundamental rights. However, this recourse to Article 32 is now available only to citizens who are geographically close to the Supreme Court, financially privileged class to whom cost of litigation and travel does not matter. Considering the fact that the Supreme Court is located at New Delhi, which is not equidistant to all parts of the country and is far away from states, particularly from southern, southwestern, eastern states. 2 minutes, Chairman, I'll finish it off.
No, please.
The citizens in these states are virtually deprived of their rights to approach. I'll finish it off. Very important, please. Eastern and western states, the citizens in these states are virtually deprived of their right to approach the court, not only due to distance, but also due to the cost factor. Sir, access to justice is not the preserve of the rich. Regional benches would also mean that the bench strength of the Supreme Court is increased, leading to more disposal of the case by the Apex Court, and any steps of establishments of courts in between High Court and Supreme Court is disastrous. The very purpose of access to Article 32 would be defeated. The need for setting up of regional benches has been felt over the last 2 decades in all quarters. The Standing Committee of the Parliament has recommended the setting up of regional benches in the Supreme Court in 2004, 2005, 6 and 8. I'll conclude, sir. I'll conclude, sir.
Please.
Sir, the only other country with a billion-plus population, China, has got 9 benches of the Supreme Court. Therefore, time has come to amend the Constitution and establish permanent regional benches of the Supreme Court. Therefore, these are, in my humble opinion, the pressing matters which require the attention of this House with regard to the working of higher judiciary. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Honourable Vice Chairman, sir. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. It's a very important